Hello, everyone. This is Attorney General Keith Ellison with Affording Your Life, your podcast about fairness, justice, and consumer information. This is not legal advice, but important information you can use to help you afford your life. Shirlynn LaChapelle, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Keith. Attorney General Ellison.
That's right, my sister. But you call me Keith,
Okay.
Shirlynn. But we do go back, and so I'm so glad that you agreed to be on the advisory task force on lowering pharmaceutical drug prices. Now, you're a busy person and you're in demand. Why did you say, I'll do it?
Well, I'll make this simple. In 2016, my brother died of cancer.
Oh, my.
He owned a trucking company in Swickley, Pennsylvania. He owned 25 acres up in the mountains beyond the Hines Farm and Lynn Swan.
Sure.
It was valuable property. He was dying of prostate cancer. They had to reverse mortgage their home and the land. And 1 month after he ran out of everything, it was $5,000 something after insurance for the medication that was keeping him alive. And by the way, his wife died 6 months later of cancer. They had lung cancer, and he had prostate.
So you're talking about a successful man who was able to put together some resources, no small thing for an African-American person, and he lost it all because he got sick. That's what you're saying.
No house. They had to reverse mortgage that.
Yeah. So even when he passed away,
He had
there was
nothing.
no legacy for the children. There was
None.
no. They just gobbled it all. The healthcare system gobbled up his life's work and the assets that he built. Yeah, that's a heartbreak. I want to put a quote in front of you, which I think is appropriate to this conversation. Martin Luther King has said, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. Now, the story you just told me was shocking and inhumane. What do you think of that quote?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I started out as a nurse in 74 Cook County Hospital in Chicago.
Yep.
Everything was free there.
Yep.
People from 3 states, if they could get there, they came there for their health care. You could get teeth, glasses, whatever you need, surgery, and the medications were free. To me, that's single payer.
Yeah.
To me, that's what everybody needs. And the patients who were regular at the clinic were healthier people.
Right.
They came into the hospital less frequently and the ICU even less frequently because their needs were met at a lower health level.
Yeah, it seems like our healthcare system is not about keeping people healthy. It's more about extracting money out of people.
It's a disease system. It's not a health system. It's
Right.
all about disease and all about making money on the end of the pharmaceutical, insurance, and hospital industry.
Well, I will also tell you that I'm really glad that you're on our task force and speaking up as, I know you were the president of the Black Nurses Association. What are some of the other things you've done in the healthcare world? I mean, you're a nurse, of course, but if you just talk about some of your experience as well.
Okay. I started out on trauma, burns at Cook County, became a nurse practitioner in general surgery, moved here. My husband was with Honeywell, worked at the U of M surgical ICU. Hennepin County Trauma Services, I was the first interventional nurse. They made the job for me. I was on the biomedical ethics committee there, professional practice. I was a cultural diversity trainer. I mean, I have done everything in healthcare that you can do, and I do community and public health, and I do things with Health Fair 11, which is funded by Medtronic Foundation and UCare and the Health Fair 11 Foundation. And we bring health care to people who need it right on the street. Many of them don't have insurance. They don't know where to go when they're ill. We've sent people to the emergency room, their blood pressures were so high, and their blood glucose. Now, if those people go in, have a stroke, we could have prevented that at the clinic level, providing medicine, checking them out. But when we send them to the ER, they're usually going to the ICU. You might be talking $20,000, $30,000 there.
Right, no kidding. It's actually an amazing thing. I like the idea of having more decentralized, accessible healthcare access. You know, let's talk diabetes a little.
Okay.
So African Americans in particular have higher percentage of diabetes than whites do. But just in terms of all Americans, they say about 30 million Americans have diabetes. About 1 in 4 don't know it. And about 100 million Americans have diabetes or pre-diabetes. And that's like a lot of people. High percentage of those are African Americans. Is this fight to lower drug prices an African American fight too?
Actually, it's an African American fight, but even more than that, it's a brown, black, yellow, and white fight, because every human being on the planet, they need drugs to stay alive.
Yeah.
Our body is made up of many biochemical reactions, and insulin is the door opener to allow energy into the body, into the cells. And if you don't get insulin to open up the cells, the brain starves.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you have gotten to be friends and colleagues with Nicole Holt-Smith.
Yeah.
And she's the co-chair of our task force. And people ask her, well, why didn't your son go to the ER? Why didn't he call you? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? She said, look, once you start going into ketoacidosis, it affects your
brain.
Yeah.
You can't think. Mm-hmm. You cannot think. And then the next step is diabetic coma, and you die.
Right.
If you aren't given insulin to open up those doors to let the energy into the cells to vitalize the brain.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the things, people sit back in legislative hearing rooms and have quick answers as to what somebody else should have done. But that's because they don't seem to know the medicine, the science behind the disease.
Well, it doesn't affect anybody in their family yet.
Yeah, but when it does.
When it does, we're going to see some fast legislation, some changes, just like in maternity stays in hospitals. I don't know if that was in Washington, where they wanted women to leave a day after they gave birth, and some senator's wife was discharged, and the baby had high bilirubin and some other things, and the mother was bleeding a little bit, and honey, quickly, hospitals stopped doing that.
Yeah. Well, but we've got to raise the issue. I'm hoping that we can really talk about insulin, but also, EpiPen.
Epinephrine, yes.
Epinephrine, and by the way, epinephrine is actually not very expensive.
It's cheap. Look, we used to carry vials of it at Cook County, and vials, and they drop on the floor, big deal. We get another one.
Right.
You have asthma, we take a tuberculin syringe, 0.3, we give you 3 shots of those, 15 minutes apart. I work the ER, okay?
Yeah.
And, and then give you some nebs. But yeah, I don't know how something twice as old as me is costing so much.
Well, it's the pen. That's the problem.
So what?
It's the pen.
How much does plastic cost?
Right. I agree. But they patent the delivery system.
Criminal.
And they charge you. Well, you recommended a book that our committee should read. You want to share the book with them?
Absolutely. It's called Deadly Monopolies, The Corporate Takeover of Life Itself. And this is by Harriet A. Washington, a brilliant woman researcher. And it reads like a novel, but it's a research book. And it's you can't even sue her because she researched everything. And in the back of the book, maybe 100 pages of references.
Yeah, they don't. So I got the book, and I'm reading the book right now. And, one of the things that we're trying to do is, with the task force, we're really trying to educate ourselves so that we can educate the public, so that we can make some proposals to help people. Tell me, what do you hope the task force can actually do? People always want to know, okay, you got a task force, just going to write a report and that's it? What are your thoughts?
Because I'm really, another member of my family does have diabetes.
Yeah.
And other things. But no, I'm very angry. I really want to see single payer.
Yeah.
And negotiated drug prices. We call ourselves a Christian country, or whatever that means these days.
Yeah.
But for us to be an ethical society, The country owes its citizens something, like health care, just like they feel you owe your life to go fight in a war and die on foreign soil.
Yeah.
So that should go two ways.
Yeah, that's right. So people are asked to step up for citizenship.
Demanded.
Demanded. You got to do this. But what about what the society should do for the people who are members of this society?
Absolutely. And, the politicians in Washington and other places that say, oh, single payer is too expensive. Well, people, let me just tell you, every politician has single payer, and guess who pays for it? We do.
Well, I mean, here's, but guess who else has single payer? The military.
Oh, yeah. And they deserve it.
Yeah. And who else has it? Well, I think that Medicare is a single payer
system. It is, and it works.
And so, all this stuff about being scared of single payer doesn't make any sense. It's around us.
I love my Medicare. I do have a good Part D as well. But yes, single payer is the way to go. When I traveled to Europe, I became ill in Barcelona. I was at the World Health Organization meetings. Mm-hmm. And I went to the hospital, and I pulled out my Blue Cross Blue Shield card. They said,
what is that?
They didn't want it. So I'm thinking maybe they want cash. No. Mm-hmm. And it was like they gave me the medicine.
Right.
And see you later. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. But that's a real civilized country, okay?
Yeah.
Any place that does that treats me as a human being and my life as having value, not a price tag, but value, is a civilized nation.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, ever since our colleague Nicole Holt-Smith lost her son, we've seen more kids get lost to the high price of insulin. I mean, it seems like you wonder, where does it all end? After we get this report, do you think that we need to mobilize community to really make some of these things into law?
As you know, I think we need to get started now.
Okay.
I think we need to become very, very angry because the next person diagnosed with diabetes or even allergies that could possibly close your airway and cause you to die without epi, might be you or a loved one.
Sure.
We need to, mobilize. We need to show up down here at the Capitol. We need to fill buses and go to Washington.
Sure.
Because your very lives depend on it. This is not just happy talk. Your life really does depend on it. Maybe you haven't had the instance where you don't have your medication. The next step after diabetes, people lose their kidneys. Now we're talking about dialysis. That's a catastrophic illness. Millions of dollars get spent on one person to keep them alive. But beyond all that, don't you want your kidneys? Because you may not get a transplant.
That's right. You might want to make the ones you got work out.
Yes. And then you can have strokes, heart attacks. Those are all complications of diabetes. And people need to be aware. Right now, I'm on the new task force with the Minnesota Department of Health, cardiovascular and diabetes. We're working on the 2030 Healthy People Plan.
Sure.
So that'll be criteria and things to look at for what to do, what to strive for.
Right. And so, would you say that the finance of our healthcare system is at a crisis level for particularly working people?
Absolutely. And when I hear people say, I want to keep the insurance I have, I want to laugh because until you become ill, you do not know what your insurance covers.
Well, let me just be clear. I have, I get health care like everybody else does. And I actually wish I did have single payer. I don't. I got a health insurance company and a card, Health Partners. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I would gladly replace them for a system that allowed me to get the health care that I needed. Didn't have outrageous deductibles. Didn't have outrageous co-pays. It would be great as far as I'm concerned. What I don't understand is people say, well, you heard the debates in Miami and in Detroit. Well, are you saying that people aren't going to be able to have their health insurance company? People don't care about their health insurance company.
They just want health.
They want health. Oh, right. Healthcare and healthcare insurance ain't the same thing.
No, it's not.
You know?
And my answer to that is for everyone out there who say they want to keep their same insurance. I want you to call up the insurance and I want you to ask these two questions. If I go in the hospital and I run up a $100,000 bill, how much do I have to pay with the coverage that I have? Usually it's 20%. So that'd be about $20,000. Who's got that lying around?
Yeah, who has $20,000 just sitting in an account? I bet. Yeah, I do know one person who has that kind of money. A CEO of a healthcare insurance company.
Of course, nice $1 billion bonus. My God, who should be so lucky?
Well, recently the JAMA and the Journal of American Medical Association, they recently did they annually report the CEO pay, and obviously, the average CEO of a healthcare insurance company makes 84 times the average worker at a healthcare insurance company. I mean, it's nowhere even close to what their colleagues make, and so it's like you said, it's a profit-driven system. It has absolutely nothing to do with the care of people.
It's amoral,
Yeah.
And they don't care whether you live or die. And I used to say, if you're really sick and you can't get what you need, they really hope you die before you run up that bill.
Yeah.
Because it's all about money.
Sure.
And it's sad.
Well, you know what? I tell you, one thing you said today that I hope everybody really, many things, but one thing in particular you said is that we need people to really take this on as an issue. And we need to, you said buses to Washington, people involved. We can't really complete the work of our task force if after we make our recommendations and findings, people don't pick them up and carry them forward. What do you think about that?
I agree. And I think every nurse and every doctor that cares about their patients and public health and community health, and everybody who has anything to do with helping people to be all that they can be, should be leading the charge wherever they are, encouraging people to get involved.
Now, I don't want to wrap up the show before I ask about your service as a nurse. Nurses are unique people in the healthcare system. They're not doctors, but they're nurses. They have kind of they're the people who the patients.
Yeah, you're here for nursing care.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, talk about why you became a nurse and why you moved up to be a nurse practitioner and what that has meant to you in terms of your own how you feel about what you've done.
Well, my mother was actually pushing nursing like drugs because my sister Deborah is a nurse practitioner. She got her doctorate last year.
Oh, congrats.
And my mom was a nurse. She was an LPN.
It's in the family.
Yeah, she made sure. But I am very grateful because it has been very fulfilling to me to be able to be blessed and put in a position to help others. And I've always taken that seriously.
Right. Well, it's clear that you care not only about the health of the patient, but about the health of our society as well.
Yes.
And I just want to say I see you working on issues of public concern all the time, whether it's this task force, whether it's issues of racial justice, no matter what it is, you can find Sister Shirlynn LaChapelle demanding justice.
Well, I work on housing. I was on Solid Ground's board of directors 6 years. I rotated off. But we provide housing with wraparound services to homeless families.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm on NIDCAD's board, Network for the Development of Children of African Descent. And I was on the JDAI Steering Committee for Hennepin County, Juvenile Justice Diversionary Task Force or whatever. But it was to try to find alternatives to keep youth out of the system, give them another chance.
Oh, yeah. Well, all these things are dealing with the health of society.
It's a public health issue.
And well, and we do, and you're aware of the social determinants of health.
Absolutely. You don't have a job, how can you be healthy? If you don't have a job, you can't buy adequate food, you can't gain housing.
Yeah.
The stressors of that will cause aberrant or violent behavior or just anger. And of course, you can't access the healthcare system. You have no insurance, healthy food. So we have to start looking at healthcare as a whole. Your teeth aren't separate from your body.
Nope.
Dental care should be included automatically and not $1,500 a year.
Oh, yeah. Well, dental care, eye care,
Behavioral health.
Behavioral health, hearing.
Absolutely.
There are all kinds of things that are kind of treated a la carte,
They are. It's insane.
Yeah.
And other countries don't do this.
No.
But they do it here. And it's all to bleed more money from the consumer. They figure you're desperate, you'll pay.
Yeah. So it's really different from a regular market, right? Because everybody who shows up for them is a highly motivated consumer. They have to buy what you're selling at the price you demand,
Yes.
or they die.
You're a hostage
You're a hostage. And they're
to
like,
the system.
yeah, and we've got to come together and do something about it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, thanks for coming to be
You're
on
welcome.
Affording Your Life.
Thank you.
Affording Your Life is the name of our podcast, and we're really pleased that you joined us today. And, we'll be back next week where we talk about consumer issues, but the issue of healthcare, drug prices, I think is a critical issue. You want to take us out?
Yes, and please, everybody, take this to heart. I really need you and your family and the rest of the community to get involved. And those of you out there who didn't vote last time, who said, well, it's not going to matter anyway, well, look at what we have in the White House. So I'm telling you, it matters. Policy matters. And all politics is local, then we get to the national level. So if you are worried about some resources that you need that are governmental, you better vote to make sure the right person gets in there who will continue those policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, this is Attorney General Keith Ellison with Affording Your Life, the show about fairness, justice, and consumer information. We're not distributing legal advice here. If you have a legal problem, either call us or contact an attorney. Check in and see us next time on Affording Your Life with Attorney General Keith Ellison. Thank you very much.